We are live. Welcome. All right. We are live in Hardwired for Health, and today is Functional Friday. And I know that you guys are thinking it is not Friday, but you know what? It is. We have got a special guest here today. We've got Beryl from the Down Under in Australia, and it's Friday for her, and she is honoring us to talk about aging, injuries, life, and being let's call it an advanced athlete. That's what we're going to call it. We're not calling it an aging athlete. We're calling it an advanced athlete. Go get a snack. Every time. Go get a snack. So, Beryl, tell us about yourself. And Beryl is a black belt martial artist rock star. So, talk to us about going through like what you do activity wise, and if we're allowed to ask you how old you are, we can do that.
I don't think age is a problem. I'm 60 years of age, and I'm proud of every moment of my 60 years. So I am not going to say age is a limitation to me. So at the moment, I am studying, I call it playing, but other people say Taekwondo is not playing. It's whatever it is. I call it a play game. I'm up to my second Dan in one term, which is 12 weeks away. I will actually have a second belt in Taekwondo. So not bad. So like I said, age isn't a problem.
Have one belt in Taekwondo. You're going to have 2 black belts. That's amazing.
I'm also, because of COVID and because COVID created a bit of a hiccup, I decided I would start training for a half marathon. I now run probably between 16 and 25K a week, which is around, put it this way, in kilometres, a half marathon is 21 kilometres. So I run equivalent to a half marathon in different sections a week. So, yeah, but I don't do it all in one go because I'm of the advanced group. I'm making sure that I take care of my body and I slowly build the muscles up so that I'm not over stressing my knees, my hips. But the problem with me, I also swim twice a week and I also walk. I've got 3 dogs, so I also walk them 7 times a week. And what else do I do? And when COVID's finished, I'll go back to private boxing classes.
Awesome. Okay, so right there, you guys, 60 years old, doing all of that. Age is not an excuse. You know, we hear these stories. We have these stories in our head of, I can't, I'm too old, I have these injuries. And yes, Beryl's 60 and she's got some bumps along the road in her body. But you have learned how to honor your body through this, right? Like, you know, you're not 20 years old anymore. So you know you can't train like a 20-year-old athlete. And that's what Jess and I, you know, as doctors of physical therapy, this is what we love to do, is like this meeting your body where it is. Whatever season you're in, whatever physical limitation you've got, those kinds of things, those are so essential to understanding how to honor our body and continue to move for life, to be able to sustain it. So what have you learned about like the aging process through being a rock star athlete?
Well, what I've learned as I've gone along at the moment, I'm not sure a rock star athlete, but that's okay. I will take it on.
Athlete, you're doing more than 20-year-olds are doing, okay?
Oh, I realise this. So probably what I've noticed, because we play a sport in Australia called netball. I don't know whether you've ever heard. It's a confused basketball where you're not allowed to run. Okay, you've got to land, catch the ball. It's confused. It's okay. For all those Americans there, look up netball.
It's not different than handball?
Yep, different than handball.
Netball, folks. Google it.
Yep, Google netball. But because I was an A-grade athlete from 14 and I played against adults, of course, and I apologise, my dogs are going in and out of the doggy door, all on cue. But because I played A-grade netball from a very early age against adults and my body was not mature enough, of course, I created, a few injuries. But back in my day, back in the old days, no such thing as rehabilitation therapy.
Right.
Tape it up, move on, get going.
Suck it up, stick some ice on it. Yeah.
Start playing. I can remember having my finger at netball and I actually had my middle finger next to my little finger. They taped the two together because it was the grand final and said, we need you. You're the goalkeeper. You're our key defence person. You have to keep playing. So I've got 3 fingers taped together as the middle one is going like this. So it's creating, but it was called suck it up and keep going.
Right.
Now I'm finding as I'm getting older, I have very stiff hips, which a lot of us do from having babies and things like that anyway. So one of the techniques I love that you taught me was this exercise where my foot goes that way and I push in.
Yeah.
So that is helping my hips amazingly. And I need to compliment you on that because my osteopath said to me, whatever you're doing, keep going. Your hips have never felt better.
Woo!
So I've been doing that for the last 4 weeks. But, of course, I did my grading on Wednesday. As a person that always holds back, I smashed my shoulders, I smashed my bodies, I did push-ups, sit-ups. Because of low blood pressure, I don't do burpees because they're not healthy for my body. They're not healthy for my head because the blood pressure doesn't cope with them. So I will do squats, jump squats with a medicine ball instead of burpees because then my head's not lower than my feet, so I don't have the low blood pressure problem. But, of course, because of that and then being on the computer, my shoulders have become, I call them kissing cousins. So, yep, I have the kissing cousin syndrome. Yeah. So, therefore, of course, my shoulders are a little bit tight and my hips are tight because, of course, I did an hour 15 grading class. And anybody that says Zoom classes are not hard, come and do one of my black belt Taekwondo classes. I am wet in about 10 minutes. Right. They're the problems that I have pushed my body to this week.
Okay, so this is perfect. You're leaning into where my brain is going. We've talked about these tight hips, but you've also talked about some shoulder issues. You do spend a lot of time at your computer all day. Anybody else out there, tight hips and spending time at your computer all day? So we're in this slumpity. I know that you've expressed some issues with little, neck discomforts, things like that. So I'm going to stand up and we're going to talk about these hips. So I know that you have been doing these ones that we've been shifting our hips, right?
Yep.
So, and this is a common thing, like a lot of people know okay, we're going to open up our hips. But what I also gave you was some of the hand movements, right?
Yeah, so this
pushing. Yeah, so what you can see when we do this, we are honoring this tight upper back and this neck as we do it. All right, so we get that nice push through those hips. And then we also did the rotation. Yeah. And this, for you, is so powerful for a couple reasons. So, okay, martial arts, Taekwondo, you have to do a lot of load and transfer, punch, kick, those kinds of things, right? So this is so important for your shoulder pain because we don't think about our shoulder and our hip being connected. People just think, we tend to think of our body in this isolated thing of I got a shoulder pain, I'm going to treat my shoulder. But for someone like you, when I think about what is it that you do, and I'm not going to pretend I don't know anything about Taekwondo, but I do know that you're going to have to load into your hip, right?
Yeah, because one of the things I do is I load.
Like, Beryl. Oh yeah, like pow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a black belt. Boom.
Yeah.
I'm for my black belt, Beryl.
Yes, that's okay. I'll teach you black belt.
So what Beryl has to do, otherwise she's going to trash her shoulder, or her hip for that matter. You've got to be able to have the mobility into this booty butt to load, and then that is going to allow that strengthening, that power to come through your butt as you work your way through. If you don't have that mobility, then you can't get the power through your butt, and then the motion's going to come a lot more from your upper body and from here. You know, if you like look at it, what's bigger, your shoulder or the booty butt? Your butt. Your butt's big, right? I'm not saying you have a big butt, Beryl, but you know what I mean. It's all about the power of the butt. But if we don't have the motion, so if Beryl doesn't have the motion to turn through her hips or glide and shift through that, she's not going to be able to get that power, which means you're going to trash your body a lot quicker, right? So we don't just take this hip stretch of, okay, I stretched my hip, I'm good to go, now I'm going to go kick someone's butt. No, we have to get all those directions and get that connectedness from the body, because like people don't even think about with our shoulders. We've heard of like the big lat muscles, right? The lat muscles are huge. Like they are spanning from your neck all the way down to your pelvis. So when you think about that, it's like, oh my gosh, the hips and the shoulder, they have to play nicely together. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. And that's where the breakdown starts to happen. It's not that you have a bad shoulder necessarily. It's that we're not embracing the power that our body has. Does that make sense? So for you, like, we can't just look at these isolated things, because as you're an advancing athlete, you have to be able, like, you can't, like, your body does not hide as well when you're 60. Like, when you're, 18, 20 years old, you can fake it. Like, when you're 18 years old, you could go run a marathon tomorrow without training and you'd be okay. Like, you'd hurt, but you'd be fine. But at 60, you cannot go get a black belt without preparing for it. You cannot go run a marathon without, like, doing the right things, doing all the things that build your body there. So that is so powerful to know, like, of how the body has to, we have to honor it, but how the body has to work together in order to give you that power so that you can go stronger, longer, right? What else you got, Beryl?
Well, it's basically making sure, because, of course, the things that are my problem, except for, I apologise about all the dogs I own. They've decided to join. So one of them, we've got to basically shoot like that.
Okay.
And that motion is why, and of course I did that. Whoops, hang on, let's do it properly. So we've got that and then that. So as you can tell, we're shooting, we're shooting all up. The other one we've got to do is we've got our hands like that, and then we've got to shoot across, because we have to snap at the end.
Yeah.
So the way I've got to do it, so I'm like this, and then I've got to go slow, 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 fast. So as you can tell, doing that is putting load on different things, but it also pulls the load back to the hips.
Right.
Because I have to actually sit back onto my left leg, onto my back leg, I should say, as I shoot through.
Yeah.
So therefore it's getting this. But then on the next motion, I've got to do that into a long stance.
Uh-huh.
Did you see what I did? So I've done that, and then I've got to shoot through like that. So I'm jumping between muscles just to do one, and I've got to do it both directions, and then I do another type of exercise that's completely different, but still with this shooting look.
And if you did that motion and only used your shoulder, you would destroy your shoulder, right?
Yeah.
In a minute. And so if you can, like, you don't even notice it. I mean, you're in tune with your body, but we don't even think about, like, and I watched, like, I saw that subtle, that subtle movement of your hip. You had to shift over, load it, which means you have to have the motion through this out hip, but you also have to have the motion through this inner groin.
Yeah.
Through this groin, you can't slide. And then same thing, you have to, and then you turn direction. And you had to have, as you came across, you have to have the rotation through that hip, the motion through this front hip, but then also this rotation from your shoulder, and your shoulder blade needs to come around with you. Otherwise, it's just going to be this like jabby jerking motion, which you're not going to cover, and you're going to just jam that shoulder, and it's going to hurt like no other.
Yeah, because if I don't move, because one thing I used to do, but of course with experience it's amazing. If I used to do this, I would go, yeah. So therefore, I would use my upper body. I'm not allowed to do. That's not the technique. The technique is actually being on the back leg, holding this back there, that there, then through. And then on the next one, I've got to take a massive step and put my muscles going a different direction. So there, as you can tell, and then I go and do something crazy like I go running, which uses my muscles completely differently. So,
but that's the beauty of, like, you're understanding this, and this is what Jess and I we share so much with people, is these different planes of motion, and using different muscles to prepare us for the unpredictable stuff, for the quick stuff. And even, when you're doing Taekwondo, like if you're in a match, like it's not a controlled environment where you might be going one way and then all of a sudden, oh crap, I gotta go the other way. You have to be able to make those adjustments from going sideways to rotation to backwards to all these different things quickly. But that's so cool, because that's how our bodies work. If you look at people in the gym, a lot of times, you look at just regular weights machines and stuff, everything is like forward. And we're like, we press, we pull, we squat, And what happens then is real life happens when, whether it's Taekwondo, whether it's running, or just bending down to pick something up off the ground and put it up here, we can't sustain those different shifty motions. Or you've got a squirmy kid that you're carrying and they're all over the place. Like, all these different directions, that is what helps us to sustain what we either need to do or what we love to do. But then giving your body that variety of going in the different, training in the different directions, the side, the twist, the forward, and then running. A lot of times, like, we think that running is just straightforward, but we're not even going to go into a whole running discussion. But running, you need to be able to, again, load into your hip, rotate into your hip, explode out of it. So all those different components, if we only train in a single plane, we are going to break down very quickly, and we're not going to be able to do the things that we love to do for as long as we like to do them. So that's huge power in that. And martial arts, for sure, you can't fake your way out of that. Like, you have to be able to adjust and tweak and shift and all the crazy things. And that's how the body is designed. The body is designed to work together. It's not that people have bad hips, bad shoulders, bad back. It's that whole cylinder. I like to, you know what a slinky is? I wish I had a slinky.
Yes, no, it's the wire thing that climbs downstairs. It's brilliant.
So picture a slinky. Like, the slinky glides nicely together. It's this nice cylinder. That is our bodies. But what happens if there is one kink in that slinky? It's trash. Like, it's broken. It does not do the nice little cool thing. That is the same with our bodies. If there's one kink anywhere, whether it's your shoulder, your hip, your ankle, you cannot get that load, that explode, that control, which means you can't use your muscles the way that they're designed, which means things are going to start breaking down. So there is such power in making sure that we unravel all the pieces of the body to make sure, A, they're moving well, But B, then if they're moving well, then they can strengthen well. And then everything starts doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that is how we are rock stars running half marathons and getting 2 black belts at 60 years old. So we can go strong for long. Okay, hang on.
Okay, so one thing I would like to ask you. Okay, so I realise I've got to do the hips, and I will apologise. I haven't been doing enough of the hands, so I will now make sure I do that. But of course, because I've overstrained, because doing any sort of grading normally takes me about it takes the kids 2.5 days. So I'm pretty proud of myself that it only takes me 2.5 days to get over it. But of course, the lower back is being put under a bit of stress because the pelvis is not tilting properly. Do you have what I should do to make sure that, because I have overstressed my body, to do some sort of lower back, which I know is coming from my glutes, which is coming from my hips, because everything's quite tight at the moment.
Right. So you need to counterbalance this. Please. Oh my gosh. So it's this counterbalancing. First, I would definitely say make sure that you are adding all the arm directions. So make sure you're going overhead, make sure you're going side to side, make sure you're twisting, because that is, of course, going to get your hips, but it's going to help balance out this middle system. But then also, my workout this morning, I taught 18 different ways to lunge. Are you going to get milk? I taught 18 different ways to lunge, and they honored the ability to both load into it as we lunge, like this stepping in and coming out, but then also the more uncontrolled motions. So check out my video. I did it in here it was my 10-minute flow, 18 ways to lunge, and that was a good, it was kind of a hip mobility, but it was also getting that strength of all those different things to cinch that together then. So yeah, we can't just stretch it. We also have to strengthen it. Yeah. And also, this is important too. Make sure when you're doing that stretch that you're not hinging your low back. Make sure you're pushing the hips forward, especially once you start getting that hand positions. Watch that you're not getting this hingy position, that you're really staying lifted, and it's about the push of your hips and that winding up rather than just kinking at your low back. Okay, so that's super important to remember.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's
what I can already feel now just by adding the arms. And I absolutely love this one that I push my hips apart. So, that already. Yeah, even just doing that.
The arms is so important. So don't forget the arms, because this is not enough, especially for you with the martial arts. Make sure you get that side to side. Make sure you get that big whoosh rotation. And again, make sure that you're not just hinging, that you're making that circle. So think about making your arms, so straighten your arms up more, make your circle as big as you can, because that's going to make your abs work more, and it's going to give you so much more power and less hingy of that spine. So that's going to feel so much better. We tend to want to just collapse, just go through the motion, be a cactus here, but that's not going to serve you. It's about this length, this big, make your space as big as you can, because think about, in your Taekwondo, you have to make your space big to A, keep your distance so you don't get your butt kicked, but B, to get that full, if you just kept kind of tight and just did this robotic thing, you're not going to get that power. So think same thing with your martial arts. You've got to make that full motion to power through and get there. So same thing with the stretch. Make everything big, make your world big to get more of that power and to protect your back and to help your hips.
Yeah. Yeah, because the other problem I had, of course, is because I had a major operation when I was 34. So I've actually had a massive cut across my stomach. So therefore you do fight those things, which a lot of the doctors don't think about that. Like I think of all these people that are having cesareans, which I never had one. I had something completely different, that they cut these muscles on you and then they go, why can't you do a sit-up?
Yes.
Because you didn't join the muscles back together.
Yeah. And so,
Right.
yeah. You know, and that's so same thing. Like even though that surgery was years ago, like making those big movements to still open that up so that your abs can work better. There's so much power in that. So watch that you're not just like going through the motions and being real hingy. Get that big, make yourself as big as possible, that length, that space, because that's going to open that up, okay?
Perfect. I feel
my challenge for you.
Now, my last question is, how many times a day should I do this? Just once? Or is it okay to do it morning and night? Or if I'm feeling a bit tight and hunched over, because like you know, Tracy, I'm releasing my upcoming course. So I'm spending a lot of time in front of the little square computer. So is it okay that I do it, say, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 times a day?
Yeah, I mean, don't spend a ton of time at it, but, you know, if you go through that whole series of like overhead, side, rotate, if you just do like 5 each direction and throw it in, you know, every couple hours of being hunched over, totally fine. You know, don't sit here and spend 30 minutes going through the whole series.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's better if you did like 5 each way and then went on with your life. Okay, yeah. I got up for a bathroom break, I'm kind of tight and creaky up here. My hips are feeling tight. Okay, I'm going to go through it 5 more times and just open up a little bit.
Excellent. That makes it perfect because I actually set my phone so that I stand up every hour.
So yeah, stand up and then just kind of go through it real quick and go.
Perfect.
3 minutes, and then, okay, now your brain's working better to get back to your focus and your work. Your body feels better. You know, you've got some blood flowing. You're more awake, so you feel better. So then you've honored your body, but you can perform better in your career now too, which is huge.
But that's perfect. Thank you very much. It's been so good.
Cheryl, fantastic.
Especially after the grading.
Yeah.
Because they're the types of things, like at the beginning of the term, I do all the things, but then suddenly we start getting harder and harder and harder, and we're doing more smashing of the body, as I call it, because we want to perform to do our grading at the nth degree. Like we want to be the best we could be on that day,
right,
in our mind and in our body. So therefore, I always notice the last 2 weeks is when I'm starting to go, because I'm so concentrating on my mind, I'm so concentrating on the body, but I'm not concentrating on making sure the movement is there.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to make sure I do this.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Well, and that's, you know, when that happens, your performance goes down or your risk of injury goes up. So making sure to pay attention to that. This was so good, Beryl. I want to thank you, first of all. And those of you who are the advancing athletes, and we all are, okay? Like, we're not 18 anymore, folks. Things change, our bodies change, but that does not mean that we can't show up and honor our bodies through our injuries, through our past medical history, and still just, you know, meet our bodies where they are, honor it. Some days we have good days, some days we have not so good days. But honoring that journey and that process of knowing that we can show up with our bodies and do some of these things to rock it so that we can keep going and do the things that we love to do, whether you're 40 or whether you're 70 or 80. We can still perform at a high level. It just might look a little bit different.
One thing I'd like to say to anybody that's actually watching this that might say that they can't do it, and I really don't like the word can't. It should be cannot, because you might not be able to do it today, but you can do it tomorrow. But just why I exercise is for my mental well-being. And if my mental well-being's there, my body comes with me, because it creates good things in my head.
Right.
So
And
that's why I exercise.
Yeah, when you're taking care of your body, everything in your life starts working better.
Yep.
You're happier, you're more successful, you're making more money, you got better relationships, everything starts connecting. So it is, yes, it's connecting the brain with the body and all of that.
And I would like to say thank you. This has been excellent. I'm glad
we got it to work.
Yeah, technology is my nemesis this week, so I've no idea why I can talk to you through this, but I can't talk to you through the other system, but that's okay.
Right.
That's next week's problem.
We got this. Well, Carol, thank you so much. We appreciate it. This was awesome. And everyone, reach out to us if you're feeling little kinks in your body and you want to know how to honor it and sustain it for life. We've got you covered here at Hardwired for Health. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Beryl. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.